You remember the old Mortal Kombat games where you'd finish somebody and they would say, Liu Kang wins, flawless victory. This game is about to be finished by assassination. This is going to be the biggest beatdown of the week. And welcome to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by BET99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at bet99.com. We are responsible gambling. I'm Ryan Doyle. That's Steve Budin. Steve, a big week. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, too. Always great to be here with you.
Of course, we've got a big rundown of our picks coming up for NFL Sunday, and it is a big one. We've even got a game in Germany. Who knew? Who would have thought that games were going to be played in Germany? But we'll get to those in just a few minutes' time. We'll also do a little rundown on the Thursday nighter. Man, that was something to watch. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the other sports that are going on because I hear this a lot. And, you know, college basketball just started up, and you're the perfect person to get some insight from when it comes to how books and bettors treat college basketball. I've heard this from a lot of people that college basketball can be a bit of a challenge for those that aren't paying attention, meaning, you've got sports books that can only cover so many games, so many teams, and college basketball sometimes gets away from the book. Is that true?
Well, I mean, you don't have to look too far. Just look at the limits that books employ on different sports. College basketball, for the most part, in most Vegas sports books, they'll let you bet anywhere between $2,500 and $5,000. On the NBA, you can bet $20,000, right? So right there, that kind of tips their hand that they don't want to see, big bets coming in college, right? And the reason is because you've got 80 games on a Saturday in college basketball, and in those games, there's going to be some places where games don't get bet by many people, and when games don't get bet, that line doesn't sharpen up. And when lines don't sharpen up, it gives an advantage to those in the know, right? So college basketball has always been a scary thing, for the book in comparison to the NBA or the NFL, which is seeing much more action and giving the books much more of an opportunity to sharpen their knives.
So let's talk about those blunt games then. How do you find those games? Is it just as simple as kind of combing through everything and hoping you find it, or do as I do, perhaps, and concentrate on one league that's obscure that nobody might be paying attention to?
Well, if you're a gambler out there and you don't know how to find those games, you're not the guy that the bookmakers are scared of, right? And if you're a gambler out there that does, then you are. So what usually happens is that, a sharp syndicate or gambling, wise guys, what we used to call in the old days, which are not mobsters, they're guys that are ahead of the books on the information chain, will grab a hold of a game, and they can do something called market manipulation. They'll take a game that has very little bet on it, and they'll bet it somewhere that appears on the main screens, and they'll bet it heavy. And when they bet it heavy, it'll make that line move a couple of points. Now they'll go the other way in the new 300 books that are available throughout the world, offshore and onshore now, and they can bet the other side without moving the line by spreading that wealth out across a bunch of books. And they're using, the power of money against the bookmakers, and without even knowing which team is better. If you can take an extra 4 points, that's like a one-team teaser without the juice, right? If you do that a couple of times on the board, you give yourself a very big chance of winning. And these are the type of strategies that Sharpies are employing right now in a college basketball scenario.
Yeah, and one other thing I'd throw in that I've been successful with even just in the last couple of days when it comes to college basketball, because there are so many different bets now, you can really find some value there. I look at team totals in college basketball, and for me, there's a real sweet spot you can find when you talk about individual team totals. Again, to Steve's point, there are limits on how much you can bet, but if you do your homework, you do your research, you can take advantage of that sport and really make a nice tidy profit for yourself. Very quickly, we got this question via email. And I think it's a good one because we talk a lot about NFL. We'll be doing our NFL picks in just a few minutes' time for this Sunday. But people obviously are looking at other sports. They're kicking around. They're maybe kicking the tires a little bit, trying to find something else to bet on. Are there any similarities? Here's the question. Are there any similarities between betting NFL and NBA, or do you have to learn the NBA from scratch if you're a novice bettor?
Well, the biggest similarity between the NBA and the NFL is the way that a game is scored and the way that a game is charged with the VIG. So they're both, 11 to 10 sports. They're both sports that you're going to risk 110 to win 100 and pay 10% more when you lose and grab even money when you win. So in that sense, they're exactly the same. The biggest difference between the NBA and the NFL is the fact that the NBA is a 7-night-a-week proposition, where the NFL, you really have games one day a week. And yeah, there's a game Thursday night and a game Monday night, but the concentration of games are always on a Sunday, giving you a week to listen to all the shows, to talk to all your friends, to ponder who's going to win and go back and forth with yourself until you finally grind yourself down to your opinion. NBA is fast and on the move. And how do you bet something on Monday night, see something on Monday night, and not apply that wisdom, that newfound wisdom, Tuesday night? So in for a penny, in for a pound. And it's a big thing to commit to 7-day-a-week betting. And are you a 7-day-a-week bettor? If you're not, you may be at a big disadvantage in the NBA if you're just a weekend warrior or someone that wants to pop in on a Saturday night and bet your local team. It's going to put you at a big disadvantage, because by the time that next weekend games runs through, there's so many things that have happened that you haven't seen. So either you're watching the NBA every night, following the NBA 7 days a week, or you're out.
Yeah, I love that term, a 7-day-a-week bettor, because it's not for everybody,
no.
Right? It's not for the weak of heart, the faint of heart, because you can go on cold streaks, you can go on hot streaks. It's a roller coaster ride.
It's the crack cocaine of gambling, right? You know what I mean? There is no putting it down. You become Pookie.
New Jack City reference. I love how you slipped that in. That's good. Which one are you again? Are you?
I am my brother's keeper.
I am my brother's keeper. I don't know who was keeping what in the Thursday nighter between the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. Man, did I get sucked in. I thought the narrative was going to be bad weather, hurricanes, Atlanta running the rock, Mariota doing some nice short passes. Turns out that P.J. Walker capped the W, almost got caught a couple of times on a comeback, but the Panthers got it done. Not only did they cover, but they also won the game outright. Any observations from what you saw, or was this just straight up an ugly divisional weather game and we can move on?
I think when bad teams play each other, anything could happen. When you have two teams that you're really, really not sure of, that you really can't put your finger on who they are, what their identity is, where they're going from here, anything could happen. And in those cases, a lot of times you're better off taking the points. You know what I mean? And I think that's the best strategy when betting bad teams. If you don't know who to bet on, don't bet.
Yeah, it's as plain and simple as that. And by the way, if you watched the last show, you caught the last show, Steve said it. Atlanta is a team that is struggling to get to 500. They flirt with it. They can't get to it. And it was a very wise observation. So it's one that I should probably have written down and listened to before I put a bet on, but here we are. Speaking of big action, we've got a big NFL Sunday straight ahead, which means we've got your best bets, what to look for, what to avoid, all of the insight for NFL Sunday coming up in Week 10. We'll do all of that after this.
As a world champion, when I walked out of the tunnel, I knew I prepared to win. I still do today. Every game starts at BET99.net.
Welcome to BET99.net, Canada's home for all your favorite free-to-play casino games, slots, live dealer tables, and progressive jackpots, including Mega Moolah. At BET99.net, you could be a winner today.
Welcome back to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by BET99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling. Steve, this is really the dessert everybody looks for. Our big picks, our analysis of the big games of the week. We start in Munich, Germany, of all places. I don't think we've ever said that on the show. Tampa Bay -3 against Seattle, 44.5 the total here.
Yeah, and Germany's just far enough for Tom Brady, who gets a much-needed road trip right away from those pesky reporters asking him personal questions about anything but football. And let's be honest, The Bucs have had a miserable time trying to score touchdowns, and who would have thought that would have been the case before the start of the year? Coaching advantage to me goes to Petey Carroll over Bowles, and look, this season's a testament to Pete Carroll's coaching ability, but even with the exceptional season that Geno is having, I'd rather have Brady under center than Smith. In fact, I think despite all the personal drama, Brady still saved the day with that last touchdown drive with no timeouts left, 44 seconds. Looked like vintage Brady. He beat the Rams as it came down to the wire last week. And now, does that spark a resurgence from an offense that's missing key personnel from the past years, an offense that's suffered from questionable game planning and questionable play calling? I think it does. I like the Bucs here. Is me betting on Brady because I've won so much money on him in the past and maybe it's wishful thinking? Maybe. But it's still what my gut says, and I'm still going with my gut here over what seems to be an easy reality for other people. I'm taking Brady minus the points.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of this. I'm going to change the channel on this. They've got a momentum kind of building spark here. I don't buy that at all, to be honest with you, with complete respect, of course. This is more for me the Seahawks in this situation, coming off a massive road win when it comes to beating the Cardinals 31-21 last week. Extremely dominant effort from Geno Smith, 10 of 15 on third down attempts. They were able to average 6 yards per play throughout the game. 6 yards per play. Wow. I know it was the Cardinals, but wow, Geno Smith, 26 of 34, 275 yards. And I think I don't know why this kid doesn't get talked about. Maybe it's because he plays in the Pacific Northwest and not everybody has Seahawks games going on their television on a Sunday afternoon. But Kenneth Walker III is turning into an absolute stud running back. He finished with 26 rushing attempts last week, 109 yards, pair of touchdown runs as well. I think he's going to run all over the Bucs, all over Germany, and I think they cruise to an actual easy win here. Don't sleep on the Seahawks. I'm going to take them in this situation getting points, which is ridiculous to me.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. I think conventional wisdom has that same play, and for me, again, and I put the little disclaimer out there, this may be just me having won so much money on Brady in the past that it's so hard for me to bet against him, but anyway, that's what makes it horse racing.
What? Exactly, but that's exactly it, right? If you've won somebody, if you back that horse in the past and they've been good to you, I understand why you go back to the barn. Buffalo minus 3.5 versus Minnesota. Total here 43.
Well, this to me is the best value on the board this week. Both teams coming off polar opposite results. That's why we see this line. If you would have made this line in the beginning of the season after the first 3 weeks, this line would be much different. Trust me, just a week ago, Buffalo was humming 6-1. They were looking unbeatable. Then the unthinkable happened. They lost to the Jets. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins guided the Vikes to a 6th straight victory. They're now 7-1, a 5-game lead in the loss column over the rest of the NFC North. And look, if I'm right, the Bills hit a midseason speed bump. Call it a wake-up call, a human moment, and they'll refocus and bounce back big. Again, if I'm right, the Vikings are the worst 7-1 team I've ever seen, a big fake and nothing of substance. If I'm right, this line and game is a gift. I'm taking Buffalo here. They're a 2-touchdown winner in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. This one should be taken to Macy's, to the gift wrapping department immediately. Put a nice big bow on it because I agree with you. I had this game about 6.5 points between these two teams. You give me 3.5. It is exactly what Steve said it was, an absolute gift. Minnesota, man, they've needed 4 come-from-behind fourth-quarter drives against 500-level teams, including last week against the Washington Commanders, who had a backup quarterback in the game. Their defense, the Vikings, they're ranked at the bottom of the league. They've got issues in that secondary. They got some older people. Harrison Smith is 33 years old. Patrick Peterson, he has struggled back there. They're a decent team. I'm not bagging on them, but their record is really misleading in this one. Cousins has not been the same on the road. The Vikings lost to the Eagles. That showed exactly who they were. I think this is going to be a 2-touchdown game as well. I think the Bills rebound, even without Josh Allen. Even if Josh is on the bench, the Bills are going to find a way to be dominant in this effort. So, yeah, give me the Buffalo Bills as well, and tip the lady at Macy's, won't you? Chicago minus 3 versus Detroit, 48.5, the total here.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago lost at home last week to Miami. They fell to 3-6. But like you said a couple of weeks ago, and you were ahead of the curve with it, their offensive evolution has been undeniable. Quarterback Justin Fields, he's becoming a major threat. No other way to say it. He threw for 3 touchdown passes. He had a 61-yard scoring run. He had 178 total yards rushing on the day. all of that, but it wasn't enough to beat the Dolphins. Well, will it be enough to beat the Lions? It will. I'll take the Bears here minus the points.
Yeah, I'm with you on that as well. Bears -3 here. You ever play video games when you were a kid and use a cheat code and unlock something phenomenal? That's what you're seeing right here, right now. That is what you are seeing right here, right now with the Bears and Justin Fields. It's like Justin Fields has been unlocked in some way. He's using rollouts. He's getting on the move. The Lions have surrendered 32.1 points per game. That's the highest in the NFL over the first 8 weeks. This offense also has a lot of injuries on it to some key contributors. So give me the Bears in this. And, I appreciate the tip of the hat there, but it's nice to see the Bears actually come alive here. They've got a team for the future.
I think they were forced into trusting Fields. They had no other choice. And when that moment happened and they kind of pulled the strings off of him and said, kid, just do your thing, he did it in a big way.
Miami Dolphins, -3.5. They've been red hot with Tua back under center against the Cleveland Browns. 49.5 is the total here.
Yeah, so Cleveland coming off a bye week, usually that's a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing this time. It's just in time to cool them down from a hot performance against the Bengals. So the question is, can they regain that momentum in Miami against the Dolphin team that's now won 3 straight? They're getting better and better every week since Tua came back. Cleveland can't hold on to the ball, Ryan. They've turned the ball over multiple times in 4 of their last 5 games. Miami's defense, way better at home. They just allow 15 points per game in the sun. Tua, also better at home. 13-3 straight up, 12-4 against the spread. That's as a home starter. I like Miami here at home. I'm laying the points.
All right, I'm a pass on this game, but I will just throw the caveat in. The Browns do average 385 yards, total yards per game, including 164 on the ground. They're the 3rd best running team in the league. The Dolphins are going to have to contain Nick Chubb. It's not Bradley Chubb I'm worried about. It's Nick Chubb. Right. Well, I guess it's a little best of both worlds in that situation. So that's something I would keep my eye on if I were to bet it. I'm not going to bet it. Let's move on to the Giants, -4.5 against Houston. The total here, 41.
Right, so Giants, right, they're in the midst of a dream season. And it only overshadowed by that other team in green, right, that plays in the same town as them, New York or really New Jersey for that matter. Now, look, they come off a bye. They're well-rested. They're facing a team that, at least on paper, might look like an easy out to most people. But this is a Houston team that gave the undefeated Eagles hell last week. They have a rookie, a running back, Damon Pierce, who's playing great for them. Giants are 6-2, but they've only been favored twice this season and never by this many points. Can they handle the big spread? I say no. Give me Houston here to fight this one out. We're looking at a backdoor cover.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think this Houston team is a lot better than people think, a lot better than their record indicates. I'm not saying they're going anywhere anytime fast. They're probably going to number 1 in the NFL draft. But they do play solid first halves. We saw it against the Eagles. They fought really hard. The Texans seem to be getting healthier. They've got dangerous weapons on both sides of the ball. The Giants, I think, will probably come out of that bye week a little sluggish, a little slow. I'm not going to take the overall game, although I do like the idea of the Texans getting in that back door. I'm going to take the Texans to win the first half of this game. Because I think, yeah, every part of that feels right to me. You know, when you just got one, this one feels right.
I like that.
If we're going to move on to a game where I think, you remember the old Mortal Kombat games where you'd finish somebody and they would say, Liu Kang wins, flawless victory. This game is about to be finished by assassination. This is going to be the biggest beatdown of the week. The Tennessee Titans -3 versus Denver. Total here 38. I don't usually go first, Steve, but I'm excited about this one.
Go right ahead. I mean, you want to keep going or you want me to get in there?
Oh, you get in there.
All right, well, I mean, say what you want about these two teams. Neither has an impressive offense, right? For Tennessee, until Ryan Tannehill returns from his ankle injury, all they can do is run the ball. Not a bad option when you got Henry in the backfield, but still one-dimensional at very best. And while Denver finally did show some spark on offense in the second half in their last game, I think that Tennessee defense is going to neutralize that, because that's the only reason why Tennessee has been in it lately. It's because of their defense. Now, here's the thing. The Tennessee under is now 11-3 last 14 games. The Denver under is 19-6 since the start of last season. So to me, this one is a stone cold under the posted total.
All right, fair enough. Tennessee is covered in their last 6, including the final 2 with Tannehill on the sidelines, Malik Willis under center. He can't even throw. The guy's throwing the ball like into the stands and stuff, and they're still competitive. It looks like Ryan Tannehill is approaching full health, so I'll be interested to see if he's part of this bounce back, but it does all come down to that defense, man. They can be dominant. I expect Russell Wilson to be on his ass at least 4 times in this game. I'm going to give you 2 bets on this. I like Tennessee to cover the 3 points, and I like Denver under their team total when it comes to points. I think they're going to have a very difficult time against Tennessee's defense, and that kind of plays into Steve's under narrative as well.
A lot of prop plays from you today. I like what I'm hearing. Good stuff.
Throwing out also, I'm throwing the kitchen sink out.
You got to do that at this stage of the season.
You really do. You've got the information. You might as well use it to your advantage, right? Let's
100%.
talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 9.5 at Kansas City. Total here 51.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just can't do it anymore. I can't lay big numbers on KC. The Chiefs needed overtime to barely beat Tennessee. And the problem's not Mahomes, right? 446 yards passing, 63 yards rushing. He was responsible for both Chiefs touchdowns. This was a game that the Titans led 17-9 with just 3 minutes to go. The problem is the Chiefs don't cover. Jacksonville snapped its 5-game losing streak, both straight up and versus the spread. They rallied from 17 down to beat Vegas. But like I said, it's not about that. Beating Vegas, hoo-ha, not the greatest thing in the world. But KC doesn't cover, especially at home. They're 0-5 versus the spread. I'm done with KC. Give me Jacksonville plus the points.
He said it best. I'm with him 100%. I would take the Jacksonville Jaguars here. I don't like the big numbers with Kansas City, man. It's either I'm going to play the other team or I'm going to pass on the game. I am not taking this Chiefs team given points when they can't cover spreads. Dallas -4 at Green Bay. Total here 43.5.
Yeah, so the Packers remind me of my ex-wife, right? There's not a lot of nice things I have to say about them. 5-game losing streak, they're out of the race. Last week, Aaron Rodgers looked like Brett Favre at the end of his career. We talked about it earlier in the week, willy-nilly passing, 3 interceptions, 2 in the red zone. To me, this team is not the same team they've ever been. They're unrecognizable. Cowboys, on the other hand, they're having a solid year. They've won 4 out of 5 with backup quarterback Cooper Rush, and since Dak returned, they've rolled past a couple of cream puffs, Lions and Bears. Cowboys won those 2 by a combined 73-35, and here comes another cream puff, right? And the Cowboys and Packers are 2 teams that are headed in opposite direction. To me, this line is cheap. I'm taking the boys.
Yeah, it's dirt cheap. I mentioned Macy's. This is like a bargain basement sale in this situation. 4 points seems like nothing. The defense for the Packers has struggled this season. I'm going to concentrate on that side of the ball, in particular against the run. When you look at it, they haven't faced very good offensive teams, and they're still struggling. The Cowboys are starting to click. They're starting to get where they need to be. Green Bay's offense, as Steve mentioned, they're 25th in the league, struggled most of the year as well. They couldn't get past the Lions and move the Lions defense around. I don't think they're going to have any shot against what is one of the best defenses in football. Give me the Cowboys minus those 4 points. The Los Angeles Rams -2 versus the Arizona Cardinals. I laugh because, man, the Arizona Cardinals. 40.5 is the total here.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Rams offense is like Donald Trump's hair in the wind. I mean, it's a mess. They scored the fewest points in the league first portion of this season, 20 points or less in 6 of 8 games. They've yet to exceed 360 yards in total offense one time this year. The offensive line, problems. The running game, problems. Matty Stafford sacked 28 times, problems. That being said, Arizona might just be what the doctor ordered to get the Rams back on track. The Rams own the Cardinals. They're 11-1 straight up against Arizona. The last 12, they're 10-2 against the Vegas line. Last 12, Stafford's under concussion protocols. Kyler Murray nursing hamstring issues. I'm going to look to play the under here as well. LA's gone under in 5 of their last 6 this season. Why would this game be any different? I'm going under the posted total.
Yeah, I've got a different take, and you can hold me to this for the rest of the season, and I'm going to put it on record. I will never bet on the Arizona Cardinals for the rest of the season.
Well, they only played for 2 quarters. Why would you bet them?
Right, and Kingsbury's the coach who I don't trust.
Right.
Kyler Murray, I still think there's beef between the 2 guys.
Right,
and
definitely.
You know, he's injured. Murray's injured. I do like the under here. I think people see the Rams and assume, you know, greatest show on turf still, or even what they were in the Super Bowl. They're just not that anymore. And 40.5 seems like a pretty big number for these two teams to get over. I do like the under. I'm with Steve on that, under 40.5. We finish up with the San Francisco 49ers, -7 against the LA Chargers, 44.5 the total here.
Yeah, the Chargers, like college kids at an Asian massage parlor, they're always looking for that happy ending, right? Lucky last-minute wins over the Browns and the Broncos could have gone either way. Don't forget the buzzer-beater field goal to beat the Falcons last Sunday in Atlanta. Meanwhile, the Charger injury list, it reads like a 10-page menu at my favorite Greek diner, Lester's, by the way, in Fort Lauderdale. Meanwhile, 49ers coming off the much-needed bye week. They should be back at full strength. Christian McCaffrey's new impact, it's undeniable. Jimmy G is going to have a full arsenal of weapons on hand for the first time. These Niners tend to make big stretch runs in recent years, and they usually take care of business in Santa Clara. They've won and covered 6 of the last 7 there. So Chargers have been lucky, but luck runs out. I'm taking the Niners here minus the big wood.
Yeah, it is big wood, -7, but I'm with you on it. I think the 49ers strategy in this game is pretty simple. Contain Herbert because the Chargers can't run the ball. It's not explosive. It's not what it used to be. They don't get much, and if you can contain Herbert's passing game, I think the Niners come away with an easy win. And you combine that with Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey. They've started to get some things clicking there as well. They're going to expose a defense that has just been absolutely horrid in defending the passing game and the run game, for that matter, in the Chargers. I don't know what this Chargers team is. I don't know how we got here because they were good. Like, it feels like I blinked and the Chargers were bad. I don't know what happened, but I am with the San Francisco 49ers as well, -7. You're laughing.
I am laughing because you're absolutely, it's like, you read my notes. You're exactly what I think about them.
Yeah, and when we're in lockstep, folks, that's when you don't talk big wood. That's when you put the big wood down. Steve, always a pleasure, sir.
It's always good to be here. Hopefully we'll have some winners this week again for everybody.
Absolutely. Pocket protection in association with TDR, brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling.